You smell that? Oscar season's in the air. On today's show, we're talking about the nominations for the 2024 Oscars, our thoughts on them. Then our case revolves around video games. Is there a right or wrong way to play them? We're going to find out. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, not my playstyle.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial. For just $5 a month, you'll gain early access to both our audio and video episodes before they're released to the general public, and access to Geeks on Trial Sidebar, a bi-monthly show exclusive to Patreon only.
That's right. It's not exclusive to anywhere else.
Exclusive to Patreon only. I've been drinking.
Oh my God. What the hell was that?
I've been, oof.
Yeah, check out that show. It's a lot of fun. It's a little shorter than this show. Bite-sized. It's like fun size. It's like the Milky Way version.
Fun size edition, which really a fun size candy bar should be like big.
Yeah, right. Because of the word fun.
Right. I'm not having fun's a word. I'm not having fun with small things.
Fun. I'm sorry. You just say fun's a word? Like so someone was that in question?
Yes.
Okay.
I question it every day. Stupider, fun,
words.
Funner, funnest.
We don't have time to screw around today. We really don't. Really don't.
Oh, okay. I was excited for screwing around.
Well, we can't.
All right.
And that's because in addition to our important legal discussion that we're going to have in a minute, we are going to start things off by talking about the newly announced Oscar nominees, the films that have been selected to be nominated for this year's Academy Awards.
It's Oscar season? I gotta go.
It's Oscar season,
I gotta go. I have to go Oscar shopping. I have to put my Oscar tree. Holy shit.
Do all of
I
that.
forgot it was Oscar season.
Okay, you laid it on a little too thick. Now
where do I have an Oscar for that?
So here's the deal. Oscar nominees just came out. We'll talk about it. I'll tell you who the Best Picture nominees were. And they were as follows: American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Now, I'm not going to go into every single, we're not going to list every category and every nominee. You can look at them, but I'll just say those movies I just listed, you see them a lot of places in a lot of these, most of these other categories, but maybe there's a few specific ones that we'll get into. Any immediate broad thoughts, Ivan, on the state of the Academy Awards?
Yeah,
and
that's too many damn movies for one category. How many?
It's 10. It used to be 5. They expanded to 10 6 or 7 years ago.
Now, what do you think about that? Because that's for Best Picture, I'm assuming. See, yeah. I feel like you start getting lost in some of these. Like it should be like.
I'll tell you why they did
5. Go ahead.
I think it's fine to have more than 5. I think it's fine. I think 5 is too exclusionary. And the real reason they did this is because one year, I believe it was The Dark Knight, they did not nominate. And a bunch of people got mad at them or were like, what, the Oscars are irrelevant. Well, and so basically the extra 5 they added is for mainstream. It's like this Barbie wouldn't be in there if there was 5.
Yeah. And
this is how they get people to watch.
And honestly, the mainstream movies are what the people watch. So it's like, yeah, the Academy,
that's true.
The Academy might not pick Barbie, for example, but having these mainstream movies mixed in with the typical Oscar movies, you're right. It brings in numbers and it brings in a glimpse of a chance, and it sounds better too. Oh, Barbie is an Oscar-nominated film that gives it a little bit more clout and extra theater time sometimes. I think that's a thing.
Sometimes they put movies back in theaters to get Oscar buzz like a couple weeks before. But yeah, they're trying to it shows them recognizing the full gamut of cinema rather than just the art house, even though they still ignore horror. They still mistreat animation. There's a lot of things the Academy is not really acknowledging. But
by doing this and by making it 10, I guess you do bring in more diversity because you have more movies. Mm-hmm. So, we have women directors in this one. We have directors who aren't old white men. So, by adding in more movies, it's like, fine, I guess we have to add those to the Oscars. I'm speaking as the Academy.
Yeah, well, we are both members of the Academy, so we did help vote for a lot of these. So take that with a grain of salt. We are biased in some respects.
Do you think it's going to be what is your choice?
My pick? What's my prediction
for Best Picture?
Well, as you know, as listeners and viewers may know, I made my own top 10 list of my favorite movies from last year. You can watch it now on my YouTube channel. Search for Quents.
And then choose the other one.
The highest one for me, my number 2 of the year was Anatomy of a Fall. So from this list, that would be my choice. Right. I think it would be great if The Holdovers won. That was my number 3. Poor Things, I think, was spectacular. I think that was my number 5. So I thought that one.
I thought that was a great movie, but I thought it would be a little bit too art housey for Academy.
Yeah, they went. It's weirder than your typical thing,
right? But for me, I my personal pick. I don't know, not thinking of what would be chosen by them, but what I think should get it would be Oppenheimer.
Interesting. What do you mean? So was that your favorite movie of the year?
Yes.
Yeah, it was not. It was. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, because I also with Poor Things in my brain. Yes, it's a 2023 film, but I didn't see it in 2023. So it's yes, it's
you saw it 3 days after 2023,
basically, a week later. But yeah.
Sure. I liked Oppenheimer a lot. It didn't make my top 10, but I did like it. I do think a lot of these other movies are better than it.
And I'm happy to see Maestro. Was that in theaters?
It had, yes. To be eligible for an Oscar, you have to run in certain cities for at least a week.
Okay.
In theaters. Yeah.
Because I know that's all over Netflix right now. Because it's a Netflix movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wasn't sure how that, I wasn't sure if it was Netflix studio. So let's go into other, let's talk about Best Actor, Actress.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we can't go through all these categories, but we can run through some of them. To me, I will say Best Actress is one of the toughest category to predict because I think there's Lily Gladstone, Killers of a Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say her name, but from Anatomy of a Fall, and Emma Stone from Poor Things, to me are all neck and neck. All of those deserve Oscars, in my opinion. I think I would probably, if I had to pick, it's hard to go against Emma Stone because I think she is just really spectacular.
Well, and also movie. for me, my first thing is Emma Stone for that because the movie is her, if that makes a sense. A lot of movies where it's it's about everything else and they're the main actor in the movie or actress. But this movie is literally about Emma Stone's character.
Yeah.
And it's it's mainly
front and center the whole time. Yeah.
Right. So that's and she played such a unusual character that you see literally grow from beginning to end, and that's difficult to play off.
Does she literally grow? Oh, yeah, I guess maybe easier literally grow a little. Anyway,
well, her brain does.
Sure, no spoilers or anything. Mm-hmm. Does her brain literally grow?
I don't know how brains work. There's a picture of it anyway.
So she's great. This maybe is a transition to the Best Actor category because we could talk about the snubs, the Oscar snubs here as well, and one of the big ones I think. One of the strangest ones. So Barbie got nominated for Best Picture, but Greta Gerwig did not get nominated for Best Director. And Margot Robbie did not get nominated for Best Actress. However, Ryan Gosling did get nominated for so was it supporting? Is he Best Actor or supporting actor? Supporting actor, I think.
Which, if you choose, I mean, who would you say is the number one, like the star of the Barbie movie?
Who would I say? Oh, no, sorry, lead actor. Ryan Gosling did get nominated for lead actor for Ken. Yeah. No, sorry, supporting actor. Because I was looking back and forth a couple more times.
Because I was looking at the leading role, I'm like, he's not in this, but I'm gonna let you go.
Oh God, I'm all over the place here, but yeah, I think that's a very straight. Also, America Ferrera also got nominated for supporting actress for Barbie. Again, both of them are great in that movie, but if you're going to pick someone to nominate from that movie, how is it not Margot Robbie?
Kate
I think
McKinnon.
That's very strange.
But also, okay, so my thing is with they have 10 movies for best movie. You might have to, at this point, if you're going to extend it to 10 movies, make it 10 actors and 10. Because like if you're because you're saying these movies are the best, then technically the main actor in each movie would be like, wouldn't you like?
But not necessarily. I agree with you for director. It doesn't make sense that how is it possible that my movie could be the best movie of the year, but I didn't do the best job directing it?
Right.
But sometimes I do think the strength of a movie is not dependent on the actors. Like sometimes, I don't know. Like even in this case, like I don't think that's necessarily. I don't think that necessarily personally, this is very subjective, but for me, I'm not so surprised Margot Robbie didn't get nominated for Barbie. I'm surprised that the other people in Barbie did. And
also too, like Barbie to me is like a more of an ensemble. Like they were all main characters in a way.
I mean, her name is literally in the title, but yeah. There is certainly that's why Ryan Gosling's supporting.
Why wouldn't so for me like getting rid of like having best director and best movie, like they kind of go hand in hand because without said director,
it's one of those messy things. I mean, this is for all times of the Oscars. This has always been a weird thing that
the Academy Awards are problematic for a number like just
similar to the idea of like if a movie can be nominated for best international film, but but it's not. I don't know. It's like, what does that mean? Or why shouldn't the best animated movie? Why is it a different category? I don't know. None of it really makes sense. If you really break it down, it's arbitrary.
There have been years where it's like, oh, this movie got best writer, best actor, best director, but didn't get the best movie of the year. It's like, but you gave it the best of everything else. Why didn't it get the best? Like, there's math
It's all
involved.
politics. It's all politics.
Politics and money.
And their campaigns. And sometimes it is like, well, we didn't think we wanted, you got 6 Oscars, but we're going to give them Best Picture because we liked them a lot too. So I do think there's an argument to be made that a movie could be more than the sum of its parts.
Right.
Like there are movies that I think I could point to in certain years. I won't name specifics because I'd have to like look at the Oscars that year, but where I could say, I understand. I don't think the directing for that movie was actually spectacular. Like what the director actually was doing. But as a whole, when you look at that and the cinematography and the acting and the writing, maybe the script was just so strong that like that was enough that made it the best movie, even though it wasn't that interesting visually or something. There's a lot of factors.
I like a lot of like, like I said, art house films and artsy stuff where it's like, okay, the actors, it could be anybody. You could put anyone in that. What? You could put anyone in that role as the main actor, and it wouldn't matter because the writing is good and the story and the cinematography and all that is good. Where it's like the actor, it's like, okay, you can put in anybody and it would be fine.
Yeah. Another big snub I thought was the movie All of Us Strangers, which isn't anywhere on here, and that was on my top 10, and I saw it on many other critics' top 10s of the year. So I'm very surprised not to see that.
I don't know. I've never heard of that movie.
It's got gay stuff in it, so you'd probably like that.
Oh, I do.
I thought it was great. There was another. On May December is the other one that I was really
Oh, yeah.
surprised Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore didn't get nominated for either of them for any Best Actress or Supporting Actress, and neither did which I feel bad. I can't now. I'm forgetting the name of the guy in that movie, but he was also great.
Oh, men don't matter. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm a feminist, so I tend to forget.
What about was Dix the musical nominated for?
That's the most shocking omission of all. No, Dix the musical up on the board.
Or, the Weird Al movie. None of that was in there because it
not eligible.
Made for TV.
They did not put it in. They didn't release it in theaters, so that's on Roku. The
animated feature films I always like because, this year there's a lot of big names in the animated feature film. You have The Boy and the Heron. You have the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Sorry. Elemental is a big movie.
Sure.
I don't know what Robot Dreams is.
I don't know. Robot Dreams and Nimona are the other two. I've never heard of them. I'm very surprised that. Well, I shouldn't say very surprised. I'm not that surprised, but I feel like the Ninja Turtles movie deserved to be up there.
Yeah.
Kind of surprised Mario's not there, to be honest.
I am honestly surprised, especially because I pointed this out in our pre-show conversation. The date of the Academy Awards is March 10th. Come on now,
Mario Day, of course.
Why?
Yeah.
But that was it was big from a big production house. It was made by Universal and what was the other production company? Oh, I thought it was
or it's Illumination. Sorry,
Illumination, but it's right. But that was a really large movie this year for kids, adults. Yeah. It was a big blockbuster, and to have that in there and maybe two movies or at least two movies that I don't even know what they are in there.
Yeah.
But I am happy to see a Miyazaki film.
Yeah.
In the Academy Awards.
Yeah, he's had. I think Spirited Away won Best Animated Picture of the year it came out. He's been up there before, but yeah, that's nice to see. I just also want to be clear. I don't actually think Mario really deserves to be nominated. I think it's kind of a bad movie, but even just they need a category for just how a pretty animation movie, which I guess is visual effects, but they don't really count animated movies amongst us. For me, the only reason that category isn't just straight up dominated by Spider-Verse is Boy and the Heron. And I'm I think there's a good chance they give it to that. It's Miyazaki's probably last film.
Right.
Even though I know we disagree on this. I personally think Spider-Verse.
Well, you liked it. I just think
way more than Boy and the Heron. Even.
Oh, really? See, I think because Boy and the Heron has more of a story and is actually prettier looking, which is big for me for animation.
You prefer the style. I will definitely disagree with the more of a story, but I don't know what that means. It's a very ambiguous.
More of a unique story where the Spider-Man story has been done to death.
But okay, we don't need to get into this. No. People are going to see me get mad. But anyway, that was my number 4 movie of the year. I'll tell you that. So for my money, that should have been in the Best Picture conversation as well. I guess they don't.
I guess they will never add an animation to the Best Picture.
It's extremely rare, but they have done it before.
Do we know
Beauty
which
and
one?
The Beast was nominated. I don't know if that's the only one, but that's the most significant one that I know of.
At that point in time, did they have an animated section?
Yeah, I think they did.
So that's weird, though. So I guess it would get
same
both?
with Zone of Interest is in international film. Or Parasite won both, Best International and Best Picture. It's all arbitrary. It's bullshit. None of it means anything. There's no point trying to make it make sense.
Will you watch the simulcast of the Oscars this year?
No, I don't know if we've talked about this on this show. I guess we started post Oscars last year, but I've stopped watching the Oscars years ago because I now just watch the On Cinema Oscar special that Tim Heidecker hosts. That's like a parody of the Oscars.
Now, did you stop watching it for any reason or just this is long and drawn out? Because that's kind of why I don't watch. I'll have it on or maybe watch clips, but it's I don't I want to see the awards and the acceptance speeches. I don't want to see we're going to have every song sung from every movie in this or the stupid skits in between, unironically,
the reason I stopped watching is because Tim Heidecker's On Cinema show is broadcast live at the same time, and I would rather watch that than the real Oscars. If there wasn't a conflict, I would probably watch them.
Right. Okay.
But that's the reason. I'd rather watch it, and I've never felt like I've missed out on much.
You missed out on the slap.
I mean, I heard about it. News. The video popped up pretty quick,
right? And that's the thing now. Like, if you don't watch a live thing, like I don't watch the Tonight Show or any of those shows, but I'll watch the clips.
I'll always go back and watch like the speeches of the people that I think I'd like to see their nice speeches.
And any controversial moment will, like, in 10 minutes be somewhere else for you to see that clip over and over again to death. So it's like, you don't need to see the fluff or the commercials, because a lot of those live shows have a lot of commercials in between because I guess it's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Gets all those ratings that the Oscars are just famous for having these days.
I would love to see what the age range of people who watch the Oscars is.
70 and up, I'm guessing.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, no, young people don't give a shit.
No.
Anyway, they don't have cable. I'll just say broadly, I think overall, I think they're good nominations this year. I agree with them largely. Most of their nominees are movies that I liked a lot.
Right.
So, and even stuff like Oppenheimer and Barbie didn't make my personal top 10, but I understand why they're there.
Right.
So other than a couple of weird little things that I think are unusual that they left out, I think there's a pretty good selection here.
Well, because I think this by far in the past couple of years, this has been my favorite movie year. Like, there are more movies that came out this year that were amazing in my opinion, or that got a lot of social buzz more than other years. And, that could be because of pandemic's been over for a while, but we're starting to ramp up, but then we also had the writers and actors strike too. So it's like, a lot of things were able to hit the screens that maybe couldn't before, or were more widely released in this But this is my
good year.
2023 was my favorite movie year in a while.
Ever?
Oh,
2022 was really good too. Anyway, there's been some great movies. I'll say this: if you haven't seen all the best picture nominees, they're all well worth watching. They're all really, really good movies that are worth your time. So
I wish AMC would do like a day of like, okay, in theater number 5, we're going to have a full day we're going to show every Oscar nominated movie.
Is that like a marathon? Is that what you want?
Yeah.
You want to sit and watch 10 movies that are all 2 hours plus? And
I've seen a lot of them, but like you can go in and see which ones you didn't see.
Okay. Sure. I think I think they do often get put back in theaters for a couple of weeks.
Or the shorts.
Or right after, if they win an award, sometimes they'll pop up. Yeah.
But a lot of times the shorts and the animated shorts I've never seen before.
Last year, a lot of the animated shorts, I don't know if it was an intentional effort because of the Oscars or just coincidence. A lot of them were on Hulu. I remember. So look out for that. Or sometimes they just are on YouTube too.
Yeah.
Some of these things. So yeah, if you search.
Is that a separate YouTube platform? YouTube too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the stupidest things you've ever said.
That is because I have years of footage online that could probably.
Well, Also, Wes Anderson nominated for his best short film for what's it called? Story of Henry Sugar, the Roald Dahl one. So I think that's interesting.
He had a movie come out this
City.
year.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, but his full features usually never Oscar, do they?
Sometimes they do.
Maybe
I'm sure some of them have been up there. Yeah, I'm sure that. I bet Grand Budapest Hotel or. French. I think French Dispatch was up for something.
Okay. We'll never know. There's no way to find out.
All right, but it's exciting. We'll see. We'll maybe we'll circle back when the Oscars actually air and try to make predictions and see how close we were to the truth, or if I'm disappointed in their choices.
You will.
The Oscars are one of the few award ceremonies still that even though I readily acknowledge that they're stupid. Unlike the Emmys or the Golden Globes or anything else, I still am interested to see what wins each year. It's still, there's a part of me that cares a little bit.
And it's the same thing with because there's a lot of TV shows or modern TV shows that's like either I don't care about or I don't watch. And the same thing with music where it's like, I'm like movies, I'm caught up. Like movies are my genre. So it's like, I'll watch those movies. Where it's like, sometimes I'll watch the Grammys or even, I guess, Tonys or whatever. I have no idea who these people are.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been watching them since I was a kid. I grew up before I was old enough to see or understand what any of these movies were. I would watch the Oscars with my family every year and think it was exciting.
Have an Oscar party.
Well, we didn't do that. No,
we should. Let's have an Oscar party right now. We'll invite everyone named Oscar.
I don't really like having people around. We need to get to today's case, which is about sort of the movie of the modern age in a way. You know what I'm referring to?
Books. TikTok?
Well, yes. Sort of the books of the modern age. In a
YouTube?
Way. It's sort of like the YouTube of the modern age.
Video games?
It's sort of like the video games of the modern age in a way.
Huh.
Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. Oh. Our defendant today is Laura. Laura has a problem with the way her partner, Sam, plays video games. You see, Laura likes to dive headfirst into a new video game, letting her curiosity drive her and being swept up in the joy of discovery. Sam, on the other hand, does extensive research before he starts a new video game, reading up on guides, walkthroughs, tips and tricks online. Sometimes he even downloads mods for a game to give himself more powerful items or weapons so that he can get what he considers to be an optimal playing experience. At one point, Laura gets so frustrated by this behavior, an argument ensues in which she accuses Sam of cheating when he plays games, and that she just is completely incompatible with this style of gaming. She blows up. She loses her shit. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Laura is right to play by the rules or if it's okay for Sam to think outside the box.
I've eaten outside of the box before. Wasn't that Taco Bell's thing? What?
I was a little...
No, that's gross, bro.
I was just a little worried at first when I started to hear...
Gross. That's awful.
It was nothing. It was nothing.
I prefer men.
Ugh.
At Taco Bell. Problem. No, at Taco Bell.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, I'm a feminist, that's just my prerogative.
Oh, I'm such a feminist. I choose men.
Why are we trying to cancel ourselves? If anybody watched this, we'd be canceled. But we're too milquetoast. We're too lame. Nobody even cares.
Nobody cares. So, do you have a video game style that you do? Like, have you ever boiled this down for yourself? Because reading this story reading this case, I've never actually thought about how I play video games, or like if I play video games in a weird manner, or if I attack going into a game in a weird way. And I would like to think that I don't.
Well, I'm here to tell you, you do.
Oh,
you're wrong. You play it wrong. Yeah, I like this case because while it is a conflict between two individuals, it's also a broad judgment that we need to make about two completely different categories of person and type, because both of these types of people exist in the world. The people who like to go in and experience it all fresh without any prior knowledge, and the people who like to look things up in advance and understand what they're getting into. And I'm sure we have brushed up against this on the subject of films, because in that regard, I'm very much a person who likes to know nothing about the movie before I watch it.
Go in completely blind. Well, depending on the movie, because there's some movies where it's like you're okay with some leakage, which is a gross word, and some where you're like you want to be completely. Like, it depends on the director and stuff, because we've had this conversation before. Sure. But with video games.
Yeah, this isn't like watching a trailer for a movie in this case. And like, Laura's issue is not that Sam watches trailers and reads the back of the box.
Right.
This is more like, for a movie equivalent, this would be like reading all the reviews and all the like essays about the movie and what it means or something before you go into it.
I do say for video games versus movies, it is a completely different thing, because it's like
very different. We'll move away from movies.
I can watch a trailer for a video game And even watching somebody play a video game, maybe not a full playthrough. Like I'm not going to watch a full Twitch stream of a video game and then go play the game. But I will I'll watch this trailer and oh, how does this game work? Because gaming versus movies, gaming is a open concept way of I might play it a different way than you do, or I might play it, instead of linear, I might go after and do more open world stuff depending on the game and how I do things or how I enjoy games. Where a movie, there's one way to watch a movie. Is sit down, watch a movie, TV show, song, whatever.
Yeah. Every single person who sits down in that theater has the exact same potential for an experience.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas a video game, you could do anything. You could go even a linear game. One person's experience can be very different from another's. Also, a trailer, I find it's much harder to spoil a video game in the same way a movie trailer does, because a video game is usually upwards of 10 to 20 hours or 50 hours sometimes. So you can't possibly encapsulate everything you'll experience in a 2-minute trailer.
Because even if they show a boss or a final cutscene, okay, fine. Maybe that 1 minute or 2 minutes of video game will be spoiled for you, but there's going to be, like you said, 30 hours of other things that you're going to know and love. And a lot of times with video games too, it depends if they're a story game or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can kind of guess what the final boss is going to be by the end, or what your final mission will be, because usually a video game builds you up to be able to do said thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes there are, it's very nice to have little surprises in games. Yeah. A lot of this that really is genre dependent.
Oh, 100%. Because it depends on if it's a racing game. Okay, whatever. It's going to be, because video games are such a broad spectrum of it can be the basic, you're just playing a puzzle game, you're playing Tetris, you're playing whatever, or it could be a full, basically a choose your own adventure movie as a video game.
So one of the games they actually specifically mention in this case file is Baldur's Gate 3. I have played a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think that you have, unless you have. But I don't know if what's an equivalent game. Is there any big sprawling RPG? Is that kind of, have you ever done a Skyrim or a Witcher or a Mass Effect or any of those? Maybe that's just not your jam. So maybe it's
probably
hard
not.
to Final Fantasy, any of those. What RPGs have you never played a role playing game?
Probably not in video game style. No.
Yeah. Huh. Wow, that's crazy. Quest 64, is that the closest we're gonna get?
Yeah,
for you?
Yeah. Which was my first video game ever.
That was your Quest 64 was your first video game ever?
First owned game.
Wow. So you didn't have any Super Nintendo or Genesis?
Nope. My first console was a N64, and then a
PC. Are
Game
we
Boy
counting
Color.
Minesweeper or something?
Nope.
You didn't even play Minesweeper?
We didn't have a family PC until maybe the same year I got the GameCube.
Wow.
Because let's say
a baby.
1996.
You're a gaming baby.
Was when the GameCube came out.
No. 96 was N64 came out.
Oh, that's what I meant.
5 years behind.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I was 7. I wasn't gaming at 7.
Huh. I guess.
Or pre-4-7. Because I was born in 1989.
Yeah.
So
we were both born the same year. So, so it's not like I'm much older than you or something.
But yeah, no, because we weren't a gaming household. My sisters were not gamers. My sisters are older than I am. Yeah, at the age of 7.
You know what's funny about it is I think I probably got the Super Nintendo maybe 1 or 2 years before the N64 came out. Yeah. And maybe I got the N64 a year after it came out or something.
Right.
So I was in the same zone as you, where I was kind of too late for Super Nintendo, but because I was a kid in my head, I'm like, oh, the Super Nintendo was a whole generation. I feel like I experienced that.
Nope.
But I kind of did. It was only 5 years long. I just got into the tail end of it.
Right.
But I definitely remember playing it before I had the N64. So
yeah, I never owned any of the early consoles. First console, Nintendo 64.
Wow.
And
that
probably,
meanwhile, there's some older person going, that's not the early console, you idiots.
Right.
I had the Atari.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Game Boy, I think, might have been, I think I got Nintendo 64 for my birthday, Game Boy for Christmas, or vice versa.
We don't really need to know the specifics of what holidays you received them on.
But I'm just saying that year was a big gaming year for me.
I see. It was a big year for you.
Because my first Game Boy was a Game Boy Color.
Wow.
It was lime green.
Game Boy Pocket for me. Anyway, we're getting off track. So I guess Baldur's Gate 3 is my point. I don't know how. At least you have a concept. It's very D&D like, so you understand.
I've seen videos. I've seen people play it. I've seen things.
Or Skyrim, or one of those.
Right.
So the I think for that type of game, that's a very distinct kind of game where there's like different builds that you can do. You can do different classes, different races, you make choices as you play. So certain quests may become closed to you depending on the choices that you make, or they'll turn out a different way than other players' experiences are. Another, I think, example of this that maybe you'll be able to grok better is Monster Hunter. Okay. I feel like,
to be fair, I have played actual RPGs.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But it's not a video game, so it doesn't count.
Oh.
So Monster Hunter or Minecraft, I think, kind of falls into this category too.
Okay.
The kinds of games where the experience, in my opinion, and maybe this is simplifying it, or people may disagree with this, but a lot of it comes less from it's not like about a storyline or a point A to point B experience of the game. Sure, you may have goals to accomplish, and maybe there's like an end to it, but a lot of it is the day-to-day knowing how to do certain things. How do I build this? How do I craft this armor or make this weapon or potion or what have you? And I understand part of those games is, for a lot of players, is the community. It is reading about it online. Yeah. For when you play Monster Hunter or Minecraft, is that the kind of thing you would do?
No.
Never,
no, because
ever?
I've never fallen into like being part of a gaming community, going into like, even back in the day, going onto a forum and trying to figure stuff out. A lot of times it would be like, I would play a game because like my friend group would be playing a game. So we would talk to each other on that. Or like, back when Minecraft was popular, I think us and a few other friends were playing in one community. But yeah, I've never delved into like, I like gaming, but I'm not like the typical, it's going to be my life, that game for this period of time. Because I'm also a big person of like, I'll hop between games. Mm-hmm. Like I'll bounce between, it could be the ADHD, it could be whatever. But like, right now I'm like, I'll be playing like 3 or 4 different games going back and forth. Mm-hmm. And maybe, some of them probably never completed or never will, but like just bouncing back and forth.
But what about, you must have, for instance, like never when playing Minecraft or Monster Hunter, like it's not I'm not necessarily saying, I was like checking out the Reddit every day. Right. But sometimes you're like, how do I make a damn bed? And you look at the wiki or something.
Right. Like there'll be definitely Minecraft was probably
that was like a peak of it.
That or like the hardest one, because like I'm seeing people doing this. Why can't I build this?
And when Minecraft came out too, when we were playing it, it was new.
It was like day one America. I think
it's not like there was a tutorial in the game that telling you how to make, like you literally had to experiment to find out how to build stuff.
Or even like, break it down to a game that I've played.
Maybe you still do. I don't know.
On and off with stuff would be like The Sims or Sim City. It's like, you go into Sim City. Sims. So like in Sim City, it's like, if I don't put this path of water near here, people won't live in this tower. And why am I not getting this? Or, so yeah. So like I will go into a game guide, let's say. Animal Crossing was probably one where I bought a game. Was probably the last game I actually bought a physical game guide for, a printed game guide.
Which Animal Crossing?
60 or GameCube?
The GameCube. Okay. Yeah. I was like, New Horizons, you're still doing it?
I mean, because I do sell game guides still, but it is like, in my opinion, it's stupid to buy them because
very rare. It's not
internet.
Very few. Like, I like the concept because I do think there's something nice about having a tactile. You can open this up, bookmark, point to something in the page. That can be nicer sometimes.
But I also like
no ads.
You can't control F a book.
True. That's very true.
But
that's kind of part of the honest. Maybe this is purely rose-colored glasses, but that like part of the joy of it is, I mean, as a kid, I would just that's actually an interesting point about this. So I think we've established that for you, for the most part, you're the Laura type of gamer. You dive right into it.
I would say 95% of the time I am, because like games are designed to tell you how to play it.
Nowadays they are. Yeah.
But even like back in the, if we're looking at like E.T. and shit like that, they're like the notorious whatever.
I would argue
games.
Even up through N64 a little, but definitely through Super Nintendo, a lot of those games you almost had to read the instruction manual. Like they were designed thinking you were reading that instruction manual. Tutorials didn't really become a thing that was expected until like PS2 era.
And then like, but then I would still dive into it being like, let me try to figure this out because I have gamed before. So it's like, a lot of times early days, game mechanics were game mechanics. If you know how to pick something up, you can at least get through stuff. But there are definitely games where when I was a kid or even a teenager that I got annoyed at and probably never completed because you couldn't get past a certain thing, where if I just looked at a game manual or looked online, it'd be like, oh, you need to do this. Or, the game could be broken at one point and it tells you how to get around certain things. But if I am more the Laura where it's like, if I absolutely need to, I will jump into it blindly. But if I will look up something if needed.
Yeah, I think I'm for the most part the same way, but I was thinking back and I'm realizing when I was a kid, I think I was almost the opposite, only because it's very different. I don't know if it's just being a kid or if it's being a kid specifically when we grew up, because number one, there was gaming magazines,
right,
and even the internet too. When I would be so starved, so eager to learn about games coming out that I would pore over every article, every trailer, every playthrough, every Nintendo Power article, I would have the player's guide for a game, and I would read that thing front cover to back cover before I finished the game, while I was playing the game, after I finished the game.
Well, because also for us too, like we grew up in a time where, yes, games are expensive now, but like we weren't, I'm kids. For me, I didn't have an endless budget. Like I didn't have, or I didn't have ways to, obtain a game online without paying for it or anything like that. Whereas like you get like an X amount of games per year and these are your games. So yeah, you would go out and be like, get the magazine or the the player's guide.
Yeah.
But that was a good trick for me, because there would be certain times where my mom would be like, maybe go read a book and not play the games. And I'd be like, gotcha.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Because like, hey, it's a textbook and that's inside it, the
you can bring your player's guide to school and be like, it's that, reading time.
Oh yeah. I mean, I did read a lot of factual books as a kid.
Well, yes, but
I have great memories of, God, I really I have true nostalgia for player's guides. I distinctly remember going on a walk once and just with my family and bringing the Donkey Kong 64 player's guide and just loving life, just for the fresh air and thinking about my video game.
Bring it to the beach with you.
Like there was a time I got Pokemon's Stadium, the first Pokemon Stadium, which if you were a Pokemon fan at the time, you'll understand the level of hype of being able to see the Pokemon in 3D for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't have been, I don't know that I have ever been that excited about something in my life other than that point. And it was literally, my family was going on like a week vacation to stay at a family friend's place in
like a week long, or like it wasn't that strong of a vacation. It was a week vacation.
A length of time.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't play. They wouldn't let me bring my N64 with me.
Right.
All I had that week was I had the player's guide, and I just was just longing, just
Yep.
poring over it, just tortured that I couldn't play that game.
That does speak a lot about the time, because now if you think about it,
Grab my Switch.
People are engulfed in gaming because it's like it's literally everywhere. You can play a game on your phone. You can play it on your laptop. Like you don't have to bring your 45-pound television to a vacation house, or worry about hooking up your N64 in the back of the car or whatever. Like, or like if you can't play your video game, now you can watch somebody on Twitch playing the game, or you're part of the
Right.
Reddit or something. So it's like you're learning about the game, where it's like we had to get either some janky forum that was online, and that was a deeply nerded community back then, or buy the magazine or book. Because there's a lot of things, like I'm looking through books that I have in my storage unit, and it's like, oh, this is the Pokemon buyer's guide, or like the Pokemon collector's guide. It's like, why would I buy that? Like, that's just the internet now.
Yeah, a lot of things have been replaced by the internet. And
like,
also,
kind
of to your point, and kind of to something you were saying earlier too, there are more games that are coming out these days. Like even regardless of what you have access to, whether or not you can afford them or your parents will get them for you or whatever, depending on your age. There at the time, I feel like there were like maybe 5 or 6 really big games you cared about each year that you wanted to spend a lot of time with.
Right.
And now it feels like every month there's some giant AAA exclusive major game that's a huge deal.
Which those are times that I wish we had back, because like now it's like even for you have probably like 8 video games that you want to play or like are actively playing.
Now. Yeah, it's insane.
And like back then we were more able to be a fanboy, if you will. Like for me, I was a big N64 person. We bought only the Nintendo consoles. It was later on in life I got a PlayStation, but it was like, because you dove in and you spent your budget on one console because you were excited. Okay, I'm going to play, Mario 64 in completion. By the time I'm done with that game, another new game came out from Nintendo.
Right. Yeah. Certainly in the N64 era, it was the pickings were slim.
For good games.
For any, yes. Well, yeah, for any, the entire N64 library is like 300 games.
Which is insane to me, but it's also like, that's a lot of games.
Not for 5 years, it isn't.
Well, to now standards.
Even then, I think PS1 had must have had twice as many at least. I mean, that or Super Nintendo had way more than that. Like,
really,
the N64 library was just very small. Yes, because third parties didn't want to. Right. That was when they abandoned Nintendo because they were doing anyway. That's a whole other issue.
Right. So for me, I side with Alora because Sam is doing a lot of let's bring up the thing that we haven't talked about yet was the mods.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that could be one side of cheating, because modding a game or trying to max min and get the, I want to get the overpowered gun so I could just fly through the first 12 stages or whatever. And adding extra, things on screen, your macros, your all that, I feel like I feel like that's something you do when you already played the game once.
Mm-hmm.
You go
Cheat
back
codes.
and you play, right, where it's like, I wouldn't start a game out with my Game Shark in.
Yeah.
And I think definitely modding a game to make it easier for you is literally cheating.
So mods are definitely a thing that pushes this. It's almost a different category than the other part we were talking about. I think the term cheating is probably too strong for one reason in this, which is because we're not, as far as I know, talking about online multiplayer here. There's no.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And now I see what you mean.
Sam is only affecting his own game. He's because sometimes there are literal hackers who are straight up cheating in online games when they're using tools that make them better than other players.
Right.
No one's endorsing that. Maybe I am. You know what? I'll do it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Endorse it. That's your platform for 2024.
So there is certainly a part of this that is, who is Sam hurting other than himself?
Now, unless it is we are playing this game as a couple, because me and my partner's gaming relationship is a lot of times, if it's a one player game, like I think right now I'm actively playing Resident Evil 7. I'm
right
playing
now
it
actively
right now. That's why I'm not.
Wow, you are
I'm literally
talented
playing this game.
multitasker.
So a lot of times my partner will be like, I'll be because he'll play like a World of Warcraft or a Rust or something on his computer, a game that never ends, and he can like look away and stuff like that. So I'll be playing a story-based game like Resident Evil 7 or Hogwarts Legacy or anything like that, and he'll be watching it for the story. Like, sure, we'll switch off every now. Like, if I'm in a fight and I can't do whatever, he'll play it occasionally. But it's usually like it'll be me playing and him watching, or vice versa.
He likes to watch.
And he's a watcher. He's a big watcher. And so if I was like, playing it like Sam does, that could also be ruining his experience of the game. Or if it is a multiplayer game and Sam is like playing it and knows things that like me as Laura would be like, well, I wanted to figure that out on my own and unlock it. And he's like, well, this is how you do it. Just do it. And it's like the fun of a video game to me is also failing.
That's the thing to me, the point to me that resonates. If, let's say, maybe not even watching, but maybe both people got Baldur's Gate 3 and are playing it on different files simultaneously. Right. And I think part of the fun of doing that is being able to talk to each other and the next day and be like, oh, so what part of the game are you at? And, oh, what did you do for this build or whatever? Which class did you go with? Which points have you found that this spell is any good? And if the other person's just like, yeah, I looked online and that spell's the best one and this one's the worst one, don't ever do it. Then it's like, well, now I'm not having a conversation with my friend or my partner. Now I'm just having a conversation with Reddit.
Right.
And
now you're having a conversation with a Game Shark.
Right. That's not what I'm looking for. I want to have that cooperative sense of discovery. The same way as like I've had this in Monster Hunter where sometimes you'll go in and if you play with somebody who is clearly beyond your level, and this is true for a lot of, I feel like Minecraft, I think could be similar. Those two are in my mind, or maybe even like a Dark Souls, a game like that.
Right.
Most of those don't really have multiplayer, but it doesn't matter.
In general, right.
A Monster Hunter where it's like, if you go in playing with someone who knows all the ins and outs and they have the best weapons and they're just like, pew, 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 and they just kill everything. And you're kind of sitting there like, I'm a baby. I don't know how to make my weapon go bang, bang, which is what I always do. I do that voice. And
they make pills for that now. You should probably go see a urologist.
That's no fun. You want to be, if you want to experience something with someone else at the same time, you want to be on the same page as them. Or even like Minecraft, this can happen where sometimes you don't play for a few days and log back in and it's like, oh, your buddy finished the castle while you were gone.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I was kind of working on that castle too. I feel like I missed out on a key.
Well, I've definitely played games like, I'll use Minecraft, for example, where it's like, somebody who has time to play 24 hours a day, you come in, it's like, oh yeah, I mined you thousands of ore so you can go do this. And it's like, but I wanted the fun of this game is kind of, it's a waste time sometimes with Minecraft. So you can go in, it's like, I wanted to learn how to do this. I want to be able to do this. I don't want to go and ask, hey daddy, can I have more mine, please? Like more.
Yeah.
Or
you want the sense of accomplishment.
Right.
This is a tangent, but once I lent someone my copy of Ocarina of Time on the N64. And when it was returned to me, they were like, oh, by the way, I finished a dungeon for you on your save file.
Oh, no.
And it was years after that before I actually went back and played Ocarina of Time again, because it was like,
it soured
it was like, you took away, I don't even know, like, where am I in this game anymore? Right. I mean, that's like a violation.
Well, that's a big thing in Zelda games too, because like I guess more so modern, but even back in the day, you learn what you need to do in the next level in the previous level, or like, you'll need to do X, Y, and Z. So that knowledge you'll have, it's literally like life. You need to live the game to be able to move on in life and move on and stuff.
Yeah. Wise words here at Geeks on Trial.
But no, that's a really dick move that your friend did.
That's
What's it? It wasn't me, right?
I'll tell you after the show. It was you. So I am, as often is the case with these cases, I am a little bit split on it because I do think ultimately Sam is mostly hurting himself, but precedent has been established in the past, for me at least, where, for example, in the case of the guy who skips through TV shows,
right,
he was only hurting himself, but in my opinion, he was still guilty because that was still wrong. So that's the question here: is Sam, maybe you think he is hurting Laura enough to where it's a problem? It does affect her.
It is. I do think it is affecting her because, like,
clearly
I don't know,
it is
their living situation. She brought him to our courthouse here. And,
she brought him here voluntarily.
So, part of it is playing as a couple or as friends or whatever is like, having the conversation. And you're right. If you can't have that conversation, then you might as well just go to 2 separate rooms and just play your game separately and just, because the biggest thing, like, for example, would be you and I are actively both playing kind of Hogwarts Legacy, which I brought up before. And I couldn't figure out something. And I'm like, oh, did you figure out how to do X, Y, and Z? Yeah. And it wasn't like I went online and cheated because it's like I asked you. So it opened up another conversation because sure, I could have gone to this GameFAQs still thing. I don't know.
It still exists.
I could have looked online and been like, how do I open doors to this room? But like it opened up another conversation with you or with somebody else where it's like we can be talking about this and figure out something in real time instead of just, I can beat a game in 10 minutes if I go online and find all the proper ways to play it. But for me, and I think it sounds like for you, the getting stuck and getting frustrated and learning as you go is video games.
Yeah. And there's many, there's many variables. There's many other game genres we didn't even touch on that still will change this. Like, I mean, if you're doing this with something like Myst, then you're just then you are just ruining if you're just like looking at all the answers to the puzzles or something. But then maybe there's a game like I could see for something like League of Legends or or Counter-Strike.
Or I was thinking of just sense. Now a game that's in my life that my partner plays is Rust. So Rust resets every month, every X amount of days. So it's like, he has written on paper or in a save file, okay, I like to build the maximum way to build my building is X, Y, and Z. So it's like that way is different because a different style of game, or like in World of Warcraft or Destiny or other things like that. Like you have your certain weapons and your certain like your key bindings and macros and stuff like that help you play this game better, but it's not a story game. It's a game where you're playing with other people, usually in your same level class and stuff like that. So it's like you don't want to fall behind, and you've been playing this game for years now because as a lot of these games are.
And to me, Baldur's Gate 3, because that's the only concrete example we have from this case file, that's like right on the line where it's the kind of game where I can understand. For me, that's the kind of game where I would be more inclined to put 10 or 20 hours in, and then I might go online to see, I wonder what people are saying are like the best builds. And see if I'm kind of close or like, maybe I'm not sure what I should spec into. So I'll ask somebody.
Or you hit a wall and.
Yeah, I don't know what I should do. But I think it's crossing a line if you haven't even played the game yet and you're already reading all those things. Yeah,
planning your gaming style. That's why like there's a lot of like even like for a basic example, like Splatoon 2 or 3 or whatever we're on now. Splatoon is a game where it's like I hate when you go online day one. And it's like, these people have clearly figured out, okay, if I take this path and I use this weapon, upgrade this weapon quickly, and it's like they're able to like sit in a tower and kill the entire field in 10 seconds where you're like, hey, I'm just trying to figure this shit out. Like
I guess to me, that's still though, I'm sure I'd be annoyed by those people too, day one, but that's in the same category for me as like League of Legends. I think if it's an online competitive multiplayer game, then the whole point is to learn the best strats and take people out. So,
and there's also 2 different types of gamers in that situation too, where like somebody playing those types of games where it's like, I need to win. That is how I enjoy this game versus like, I would say us, I mean, you're 50-50 on this where it's like, we enjoy the story and the the getting into it of a game.
Yes. And it's also, as we've said before, there's a bit of a bias here because most of the games I play are the linear. Right. So I'm also trying to think like God of War or something. I don't even know how or why you would read up on that before playing it. Like, I don't.
Because the other example too would be like Super Smash Brothers, where it's like one person. It's like I'm going to play this character all the time. This is who I play.
We've talked about this too. Yeah.
Right. And it could be annoying because like if you're trying to play with a group and be fun, it's like, okay, they're just going and wiping out.
But again, that makes sense. That makes more sense to me. I'm not going to be mad at someone for like reading all about the character tiers in Smash Brothers.
Right.
Whereas a single player narrative game, I think it's a different definitive issue. I don't know, man.
Would you be upset?
Your verdict. Oh,
would you be upset
if you gave me your verdict?
If I gave you my verdict? No. If so it was you and a partner, you and a friend, you and whatever, playing a game co-op at the exact same time as a story mode, and they knew everything.
Oh yeah. Well, then if we're literally playing it together. Yeah, like if It Takes Two, for example.
Oh well, yeah.
And the other person's like, yeah, I know this. I know the best things in this level. I know where the secrets are. Yeah, no, that's unquestionably wrong.
Unless
we agree on that beforehand.
Are they playing? They're playing this game at the same time, but not necessarily together. Correct?
Yeah, yeah. You can't. So, does it have? Oh, you know what? It does. Baldur's Gate 3 does have, and I believe it has a co-op mode where you play it online, and it's like, you're not in the same party necessarily. Like you can just do completely different. One person's doing a quest over here. One person's doing a quest over here. You just are sharing a game space. I believe that's possible. So they could be what they're doing.
So, verdict for me, Laura and Sam are maybe not playing the same game file. They're not playing the exact same, two different machines, is that just PC game? Baldur's Gate 3?
Yeah, maybe it's on Xbox or PlayStation.
But primarily a PC game.
Yeah, that's how I think of it.
So, they're in two different areas playing this game, or they're in the same room. So they both started this game roughly the same time. And I would say, they chose to play it together. She or he, she might not be a gamer. He might not be a gamer. So they're trying to follow the other's interests and try to bring something to do together, which it's a hard part about being in a relationship, is trying to find something that you both can do and, share interests and stuff and try to sync up with different things. So I do feel bad for Laura that Sam is like, kind of like becoming an alpha gamer in their relationship and like being like, well, this is how you do it. This is how you play it. I'm going to do all this research and da-da-da, where she wants to enjoy the experience, where it sounds like Sam might want to like not rush this game, but like, let's get through it. Let's play it. Let's play it the best way possible, where she wants to enjoy the time together and enjoy the game as a game and not just as an activity, but you know what I'm saying?
I sort of don't, but I sort of do.
I do think, Laura is.
The question is she guilty for being annoyed by this, or for calling him out and saying that he's cheating?
I would say I want to ignore the cheating because, like, sure, in the grand scheme of it, researching and doing all this stuff and learning how to play the game and maybe finding out hints and stuff. Technically, I guess it is cheating because you're cheating yourself on the story. You're cheating by trying to play the best you can in a way, but also not. But I'm going to take this kind of out of consideration because, like, if this is his game style, it's not cheating. Mm-hmm. So, but I do think she should be upset. So I do think she's not guilty of calling him out on the way he's gaming this particular game. So she's not guilty on any of these fronts because, like, they chose this game together. They said so he can go do this on any other game that he plays that she might not be playing with, or any of the games he plays with the boys. But, this game, this is their couples game. They chose this game as something to do together. And, maybe maybe split it halfway. Be like, okay, I'll do some research, but maybe you don't do as much research. We want to grow and learn this game together and be able to have the water cooler talk about this game. And, Laura is not guilty in a convoluted way of saying it.
No, it was very concise. You did great. We're judges.
We're judges.
I don't know that I can't remember another case in recent memory where I was this conflicted.
Because it's difficult because like it's his personal style. But when you're doing that as a couple or even in a friend group, it's difficult. I mean, the closest one I guess would be the Camel Up episode where it's like, or
is that just the only one you can remember?
Well, the closest
last
one.
Week.
Yeah. Where it's like, this guy is playing a game how he wants to play it.
Right.
But board gaming, that's a whole different.
We can't get into last week's case. We don't have time. No. We got to wrap up. Gotta
go.
Like if Sam were the defendant here instead of Laura, I'd almost I would be tempted to call him guilty for the same logic as before, where I do think, like you said, in my opinion, he's cheating himself out of an experience that he could be having. But on the other hand, if that's the way he likes to play games, I like, for instance, I was referring before to a case of the guy who literally fast forwarded through TV shows.
Yeah.
That is far more egregious than anything in this. Like, if you just like to go in and read up and know what you're doing, I do think, and if you like to mod it even, it's not the way I would have fun with it. And I'd prefer if you didn't talk to me about it that much, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Then again, the question is it okay for Laura to call him out on this? I think the word cheating is too strong of a word. Whether or not I'm considering it remains to be seen. But I don't think it's appropriate necessarily. But if I were in Laura's shoes, I think I also would be frustrated by this behavior. I think I would be annoyed too. So it's really hard for me to say. I think, man.
God, I want to sway you more towards one side.
Go ahead and try.
Well, because like if you like,
I need help.
Assuming if they're living together, and like this is the thing that they're doing together, you would be upset if the person you're living with or in a partnership with is like moving ahead, and it's like, well, this is our thing. This is what we are doing. This is what we're going to talk about. It's the same thing as a TV show. Like you said, you woke up one night and, your partner watched through the entire season where you're like, oh, I thought we were watching this one episode at a time. Kind of the same thing in the same structure, because like that is your thing. So it's like, oh, we have nothing to talk about. In the grand scheme, like there's other things to talk about. But
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think that I'm probably going to have to come down on this one with a not guilty, same as you. Part of me, I kind of just want to call this a mistrial because I do feel it's complicated. But ultimately, if we just boil it down to the simple facts of, is it okay for her to be annoyed by this? Yeah, I get it. Right. And therefore I don't fault her. So yeah, I think it's a double not guilty.
And another thing with this is like, sure, if this is his independent gaming style, do what you want. Live your life the way you want to. In my opinion, is he cheating himself out of a genuine gaming experience? Sure. But if this is how he enjoys to do something, same thing with the fast forwarding through episodes. I think it's ridiculous. But, if that's the way you want to do something and that's how you get your enjoyment out of it, go ahead. But, now you're doing this with somebody else. Yeah.
I want a full list of every game they play or that he plays that he does this with. And I feel like it's case by case basis. Like that makes sense. That makes sense. What's wrong with you? You're a psychopath.
But I am happy that it's this game, because this is a game that's like, you're right. It's in the middle.
That's right down the line.
Because there is story. There is stuff. It's not just we're going to do the same stuff every time we play this game over and over again. It's not one of those games.
I guess they could have compared it to D&D too. Like if somebody who's going in just saying, in D&D though, you almost have to research things because it's all, you're the one who has to know of all of it. It's all on you, as opposed to a video game where they just present you with choices digitally.
Right. But in D&D, it's a different thing because like you are all playing together and you're all learning. Like you physically can't learn certain things because your DM doesn't. Like you can't go onto Game Facts for your DM.
Yeah. All right. We got to wrap up. We got to sentence Sam, because we've determined that he's the guilty party here. So
I mean, the easy thing, he's not allowed to plan anymore. He has to go into games blinds. You have to block his Reddit account and his Game Facts. I don't know what people use anymore. That's the one I used to use.
I think we need, what is like the most obscure game that's like in terms of the playing of it, like Elden Ring is a good example, but he has to like go into it blind and 100% it. Like he can't play another game or read another game guide
until he's
100% without any help or assistance along the way. Or, I've been playing recently, Harvest Moon 64 was just added to the N64 app on Switch. And I don't know if you remember this, but there are many things in that game that are like, if you want to 100% it, it's like you need to have done something by like day 22. Yeah. And they don't tell you about it. And if you don't do it, that's playthrough is done.
That was probably my first game where I physically had to go through. It's like, oh, you need to bury this watch over by a tree to unlock this wife who will help you if you want to play this style of game. Like that game was made to have to look up online because of such the obscure weirdness of the game, which is why I loved it.
Yeah, going back to what we were saying earlier, that it was a different era when that made more sense back then. Elden Ring is kind of a throwback to that era.
I think, a style of gaming that you really can't stop, pause, look up stuff and have things to look at. He has to play VR. You can't look at your notes in a VR helmet.
In the VR Myst game, they did have a digital notepad for you to take notes in while you play.
That's funny. That is funny.
Pretty good.
But you can't look through a gamer's manual or online while you're,
that's right.
Keep that helmet on if you're mid-game.
Headset stays on until you're finished.
And there's not enough things to do like, key binding in your thing.
Right.
Can't
All right. I think that's good. Viewers and listeners, wherever you're at, let us know what you think. What's your verdict on this one? Who do you side with? What's your gameplay style? Do you like to dive in with knowing nothing, or do you like to know everything, or do you fall somewhere in the middle? Email us, let us know, geeksontrial@gmail.com. It's also where you can go to give us your own geeky disputes, video games, board games, music, movies, whatever it is. Send it to us. We will judge it on the show here for you. Don't worry, we'll change your names to protect the innocent.
And if you want to help support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/geeksontrial. It's where you get early access to episodes and you get Sidebar, which is our brand new-ish at this point, brand new show that is behind the Patreon wall. It's only $5 a month. And for that $5, you get 2 episodes a month, maybe more in the future. So that's something you can do over there by helping support the show. You could also help us supporting the show free if you don't want to spend $5. If you see a short of us, if you see a video, if you see us anywhere on the internet, give us a thumbs up and leave something in the comments, because the more thumbs up, the more comments, the more eyes that we get out to over on the algorithms with YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And I think that's even how a lot of the podcast catchers work too. So give us those 5 stars, those thumbs up and everything, so we can hit more ears and eyes in the future.
Please.
Where can people find you at?
You can find me at jonathanestis.com for all my other personal projects and activities. Short and sweet this week.
Good.
That's it.
You can find me. I'm The Snack Guy, youtube.com/The Snack Guy, and ivanhan.com for all the rest of my crap.
Awesome. Yeah. I thought it was a great show. Really intense.
It was a good show. It was a nice long one this week, and I like that.
Yeah. I hope that everyone else liked it and didn't stop listening. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Ivan Hahn, and this is Geeks on Trial. Catch you next time.